Hi, I'm Gina, head of tech at Riot on Teamfight Tactics, or TFT as we like to call it. TFT is an auto battler that we originally built as a game mode on the same engine as League of Legends. We built it fast, about 18 weeks from idea to launch, and then it grew way beyond what we expected. TFT has become a leading strategy game with more than 300 million players across the ecosystem, which is kind of wild to say out loud. We've just announced that TFT is moving to Unreal Engine with our next set, Enchanted Wilds. Rebuilding a live game on a new engine while it's still running is not something most games choose to do. It's years of work across engineering, art, design, and production, and that gets even harder when your game is still shipping new sets, events, everything to players on a regular cadence. But that's what we decided to do. I joined Riot to work on TFT, and about 6 weeks in, we made the call to move the game to Unreal. And pretty quickly, we realized this wasn't just about moving engines. It was about what became possible, building on shared technology, reusing more of what we create, spending less time rebuilding foundations, and more time building TFT. One example is the gameplay ability system. It gives us a more structured and flexible way to build gameplay as the game grows. And for a game like TFT, where every set brings new mechanics, content, and ways to play, that kind of common foundation matters a lot. It gives us shared building blocks, abilities, attributes, and effects that can be reused across very different parts of the game. And that lets us move faster over time. With Unreal, we had to rethink how the game was built. Architecture, networking, gameplay, even the way the game data is structured had to change. And early versions of the game in Unreal just didn't feel right. Performance was rough. We had builds running at around 12 frames per second in an 8-player game, which I'm sure all of you can imagine was not exactly the target. So the first goal for us wasn't innovation. It was parity. We had to get TFT back, and that meant reworking a lot of systems inside Unreal. Some gave us a strong starting point, others required significant customization, and some we rebuilt from scratch. For example, networking. As we built more of the game and added more content, we started to hit limits. With a huge number of gameplay actors in a match, the default replication approach wasn't enough to meet our server and bandwidth performance targets. So, with Epic's help, we evolved our approach, adopting Iris networking with push-based replication and fast arrays to get the performance we needed. The hard part wasn't getting something working, it was making it work at scale. Gameplay was another big one. We leaned heavily into the gameplay ability system. It's powerful and helped us get something up and running quickly, which, as many of you know, matters a lot early on. But TFT has sets, modes, and gameplay content that don't always ship on the same timeline. And pretty quickly, we realized we needed a better way to organize all of it. So we ended up using the Game Features plugin to give that content clearer boundaries and a more scalable way to share systems. And that gave the teams more freedom to build. And then there's mobile. A huge part of TFT is that it runs on a wide range of devices, including low-end mobile hardware. That didn't change just because we moved engines. And while this has been one of the hardest parts of the migration, it's also one of the reasons we made the move. Mobile is a huge part of how people play TFT, including me, so we invested deeply in custom rendering, memory management, and scaling the game across devices, working closely with Epic to get TFT running where we needed it to. But we're still early in that journey. We're already sharing much more across PC and mobile than we could before, and there's still a lot more we can do for our mobile players. Content migration. I'm guessing a lot of you already know where this is going. TFT has thousands of assets across art, animation, VFX, and audio that had to be migrated. And every type of content broke differently when we brought it over. VFX alone was a massive amount of work. We weren't just converting assets, we were moving between fundamentally different systems. Getting thousands of assets into the engine was one challenge. Getting them back to the quality bar that players expect was another. And we really underestimated how much time this would take. So a huge part of the effort became building the tooling and pipelines to fix, convert, and validate all that content at scale. And that's where Unreal's extensibility really mattered. We could build the systems we needed to make this possible, because there was no world where we were rebuilding all of that by hand. And we kept running into the same pattern everywhere. Unreal gives you a lot, but getting from Unreal to TFT still took a massive amount of work. But we're already seeing the impact of Unreal across TFT. More of the game is built on shared foundations. Mobile and PC share much more of the same UI and underlying systems, and we're able to build on technology and capabilities that exist across Riot. And that's the biggest thing Unreal gave us. Not a feature, leverage. But this move isn't for everyone. For TFT, this is what will let us move faster, take bigger swings, and keep delivering the experiences players expect. Because for us, this is about building TFT into a forever game that players can keep coming back to. And players will get their first opportunity to play TFT on Unreal in just a few weeks. And honestly, I hope players pick it up and say, yeah, this feels like TFT. Because if we've done our job well, they won't be thinking about the engine at all. They'll just be playing TFT. Thank you so much. I hope you all have a great Unreal Fest.